Welcome to the Midwest Marvel Podcast. On today's episode, villains, baby. We are talking and ranking all of the villains in Marvel Phase 4, and I am super excited to get into it. Like, this is an episode that was made. This is my episode, dude. I'm the villain guy. I love my villains. We're excited to get into this, man. Like I said, I love villains. I think a movie is only as good as its villain, and so... And I think Phase 4, to be honest, it was interesting when it came to villains because I think that Phase 4 had both some of the greatest villains in the entire MCU. I think it's one of the things that Phase 4 did extremely well, and people can give it different critiques. But I think one thing most people do agree on is that it did kill it when it came to providing us some all-time great MCU villains.
True.
On the flip side of that, it's also weird because it also gave us some of the worst villains we've ever seen in the MCU. So it's strange that they're on both ends of the spectrum. And it's not like there's one or two bad ones. Like there's a whole handful of villains that I'm just like, as we're looking through the list, I'm like, these guys sucked. These were horrible villains.
Not very good. Yeah.
But then you have like 5 or 6 that you're like, these were all-time great. Like these will be some of the best villains Marvel's ever seen for a long time. And so, yeah, it's just so weird that there's a disparity.
One that's obviously gonna stick around for a while too. You know?
Yeah. So, gonna be an interesting list. I'm excited. Eventually, we'll probably do like a full ranking of all villains throughout the entire MCU, but that'll be a while. But since Phase 4 is recently finished and we're getting ready to head into Phase 5 in less than like just a couple weeks, man. And
dude, I know. Bought my tickets already.
Same. Opening night, baby. Set. Opening night. I think ours is like 6:40. I'm so stinking hyped. Dude, so just a heads up to you guys. A lot of you have probably seen this already, but if you haven't, this is your warning. The Ant-Man Quantumania script has been leaked online. The script in its entirety has been leaked. What actually got leaked is the, I think it was like the subtitle translation or whatever, and it from another language. And so not every single word is maybe the exact way that it's said or meant translated into English. But if you wanted to see a very, 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 very good idea of what that script and movie is going to be like, it's out there. So like, beware. I'm not going into any comment sections. I'm staying out of comment sections. I have to be on TikTok for my content, so I'm just staying surface level with that stuff, and I'm being careful about my own comment sections. And I'm not making any videos on this because I don't want to just like entice anybody to go look something up and then spoil it just to be a jerk. So yeah, stay away from comment sections, man. It's rough out there.
Stay off of Reddit, everybody.
Dude,
right now the next few weeks.
Get the heck away from the dark web, bro. How did we end up here, dude? Because Marvel used to be airtight when it came to leaks. Marvel, like, that was literally what they were known for, is that you would not find anything out about their movies. And I feel like in Phase 4, everything is leaking.
Yeah,
like ever since
Thor
Endgame,
Love and Thunder leaked for me.
Right, ever since, nothing was spoiled because that movie sucked. But I got to continue my streak of taking shots at that film. I didn't do it last week, so I got to get a few in today. We will. But like, it's just like after Endgame, Feige called the snipers off, and they're like, "All right, spoil what you want." I'm like, dude, what? I missed the days when Marvel was just airtight and nothing, like, you just knew nothing was getting let out.
Yeah, it's got to be on purpose, just because
the script. I don't know. The script thing, I feel like it's not. Some of the stuff I definitely feel like it is strategic, yeah, but I don't agree with the leaking of certain things or the release of some information. The script thing, I feel like, though, is 100% like someone's getting fired. Like there's a lawsuit on its way because there ain't no way that they would intentionally let that whole script leak. That's wild, dude.
Yeah, a whole script. That's somebody's job on the line right there.
Just insane. I can't believe it. All right, so we're gonna get into the rankings in a second, but we wanted to start with something probably even more exciting, to be honest, because y'all, we got an email. We have been talking. Finally, we got an email. We have been talking. If I had I should have a soundboard or something that I set up. I didn't plan this well to have like a big celebratory soundboard going on for I mean, I don't know how many episodes this is for us now. We've done a decent amount, but for however many episodes we've had, every single one we've talked about, send us an email, send us an email, send us an email. Even if it's just
Yep.
like comment on the show. What do you like about it? Well, what do you want to see us do on the show? Or like comment about the content that we've done on certain episodes and give us your rankings or give us your
Yeah.
thoughts.
Or send us your theories and things like that.
Yeah.
We will talk about that for hours, literally.
Yep, all that stuff. We've been begging y'all, and no emails, week to week. And then finally this week, I forget which day it was. I think it was early. It was like Monday or Tuesday or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, got an email, and so I'm hyped, man. We're gonna read this email and shout you out, and then yeah, talk about it. So we got an email from. I want to make sure I pronounce this right. I'm probably gonna botch it, but I think it's Javon, Javahn. And he said, "Sup, Midwest Marvel fam. Really loving the discussions and rankings between y'all two. Been following the platform since August 2022. Bro, appreciate that, man. You've been
That's
following
day
us
one
since,
right
yeah,
there.
dude, literally a day one for real. I appreciate you, man. And you guys never cease to disappoint on any topic, whether it's DC or you guys, yeah. Whether it's DC, Marvel, maybe one day y'all could do a quick segment on y'all's favorite movie or show out of each Marvel phase. But that's all for today. Peace out, my fellow nerds." Javon, my man, dude. Thank you so much for the email. Like seriously though, you have no idea. We texted back and forth. I shot Zeke a screenshot the second that I saw the email, and it literally made both of ours day. Like we were so stinking excited that you sent us an email. So literally, it did mean the world to us. So we truly do thank you for sending us that, and send us more, man. Like Javon, send us more. Everybody else, send us some more emails, and we would love to read them on air and talk about whatever it is that you want us to talk about. So in this case, we just wanted to do a quick segment for Javon. You asked us to do a ranking of our favorite movies from each phase, and so that's what we're going to do. We're just going to talk about
Easy.
Yep. Phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the shows. We're just going to give our top two. This is going to be real brief because we obviously got a lot of villains that we have to rank, but we did want to touch on this. So, favorite movies from each phase. Honestly, this wasn't even that tough for me because, like, as I was looking through it, I was like, oh, yep, I know exactly which one. So phase 1 for me, my favorite in phase 1 is Iron Man, hands down. It's not even really close because Iron Man is, I think it's in my top 5. Of just like the entire MCU. I think it's number I think it's number 4 or 5. Like it's the best origin story in the MCU. It kicked off the entire thing. The fact that it still holds up as well as it does all these years later. Like I just watched it a couple weeks ago, and it is still top tier entertainment, top tier cinema.
Yeah.
Like
it just recently got put into some like library of cinema recently.
Yep.
That I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Huge honor. Like first superhero or first MCU movie to do it. I think The Dark Knight has already been in there. But yeah, first MCU movie. That's a big time honor. Also, really fun fact. I made a video on this a couple weeks ago. A lot of Iron Man was largely improvised, which a lot of people don't know. But it's wild, dude. Like you could find articles and interviews about it. I watched a whole interview with Jeff Bridges on a radio show. Like they just did not prepare a script. They had one initially and then scrapped like the entire thing, and they would just show up to work every day to film. And Robert Downey and Jon Favreau, who directed it, and then Jeff Bridges, who played Ironmonger, Obadiah Stane, they would all like sit in the trailer together, and they would just talk about like, see, like okay, like this is what the scene's going to be. What should you say? Okay, this is what maybe I would say. Okay, like let's practice it, and then they would call the execs at Marvel and be like, okay, here's what we're thinking for these scenes. What do you guys think? And then they'd give them the okay and like, okay, let's go shoot it. And like every day, they're just like making it up on the spot. And
it's like my high school video projects, man.
Right. But that
like,
set off, but that set off the whole MCU. Who'd have thought that just winging it that way would have ended up being the masterpiece that it was. Maybe more films need to be like that, dude.
For real.
So that's my number 1. You said that's your number 1 too?
Yeah, Iron Man is gonna be my number 1.
What's your number 2?
It's hard because I want to say Captain America: The First Avenger.
Underrated.
I want to say that.
Underrated.
But I'm gonna say the first Avengers movie just because
same.
that was the feeling going in the theater watching that. That came out in like 2012, so I was 12, and I was like, oh, dude. all my favorite superheroes on the screen together.
It was
It was
different.
like, yeah, it just blew my mind away.
It was different, dude. Yeah, I'm the same way. I love the first Avenger. I think the first Avenger gets better as time goes on. When I rewatch it, I'm like, man, you know what? This is a really good movie.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just tough to beat the first Avengers because that was so well done, and
Right.
what a great start for an Avenger film, especially when you compare it to like look at what DC did the first time they released the Justice League. Just a hot mess, dude.
Yeah.
But Marvel did it right. They built their universe before getting into that because they were smart about it. So
Yep.
yeah,
So
Phase
on
two.
to phase two.
This was,
This
I
was
bet they're the
hard.
same. This was hard. Oh, this was so easy for me. No,
Well, I had one. We have one that would like way out. Thor: The
okay,
Dark World. Nope.
right.
Not a shot. This would be the bottom.
But what's your number
Um,
one? That's what I
my
want to
number
know.
one is gonna be Age of Ultron.
No,
Then
no,
I
no.
wanted to put Winter Soldier
I'm gonna
there.
end the podcast right now.
I really did want to say Winter
I'm gonna
Soldier,
end it
but
right now, dude.
I do think it comes down to like some preferences and like who your like favorite
Nah.
superhero is.
It just comes down to being a smart human being, man. And like this, unfortunately, has revealed this about you.
No, it's just
Nah, Age of
Bucky's
Ultron
not
is
one of my
super.
favorites.
Age of Ultron is super underrated.
Yeah,
It really is. It's a great film.
I wish they would have done more with Ultron in general because I
Yeah,
just feel like it's such a
potential is
solid
there.
villain. And
I've heard rumors that he might come back in like Phase 5, which that would be cool.
that would be super cool. But yeah,
Okay,
I
so
mean,
that
you
was
know what my
yours.
number two is.
You already know what my number one is then. Yeah, which
Yeah.
is The Winter Soldier, which is my number one in the entire MCU. It's easily my favorite. And I go back and I watch it again every couple of months. And I just did a rewatch not long ago and it still confirmed it. As I'm sitting there watching, I was like, yeah, dude, like this is just a
This is
friggin' masterpiece of a film, dude. It just,
yeah,
nothing else in the MCU feels like it. It's like a spy movie meets a superhero movie and it's so well done. The
yeah,
character development, the twist, the writing, the score, the fighting, some of the best fight scenes in the whole MCU.
yeah. On
My
your left, you know,
Yep.
some of the funniest. Too.
Right. Yeah, like it was the perfect balance, dude. My number two is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, really?
Heck
Okay.
yeah, dude. Oh,
Yeah.
I love Age of Ultron, but dude, like the first Guardians movie is just incredible. It's so stinking good. And I feel like that's another one too. Like the more I rewatch that movie, the better it is.
Yeah.
And again, Age of Ultron is good, but like as a movie, like Guardians to me is just better.
Yeah.
But
Winter Soldier is my second one.
yeah, okay.
I mean, trying to decide between those two, it was hard. But phase
If
two
it hadn't
in
have been the
general
Winter
was-
Soldier, bro, like I'd have had to find a new co-host. Like Javon would have been hopping in here. I'd have emailed him back, like, bro, get in here.
need a new podcast
Yeah.
host. No, but phase two is one of my favorites because you've really only got one movie that's like that flopped in it,
Yeah.
and that was Thor: The Dark World. And we will hate on Thor apparently because
Yeah, dude.
he
like
just he just wants to
dropping the
miss
ball.
movies.
Don't, yeah. Phase 3 was also really easy for me, like insanely easy. It was I'm gonna just give you the two: Infinity War and Endgame. Like that was my two. And honestly, depending on the day, I'll switch which one is number one. Like today, it's Infinity War. Most days, I feel like it's probably Infinity War. Like I think that's a more rewatchable movie. Now, Endgame had more iconic, just emotion, like an emotional
but
moments.
Infinity War, the fight scenes in that one,
Yeah.
that I could rewatch the Iron Man versus Thanos
Oh,
fight
yeah,
scene.
yeah. That whole fight on Titan, like Doctor Strange at his peak, just going toe to toe with Thanos. Infinity War is just different, dude. But yeah, both of those. Phase 3 in general, insane because like Civil War's in there. We're leaving Civil War out of it, which is wild.
Right.
But it doesn't beat those two.
Spider-Man: Far From Home,
Right.
and Spider-Man: Homecoming as well. I mean, and Black Panther and Thor,
Right, like Black Panther's another
Thor
one that
Ragnarok
until
too.
recently was in my top 5. Yeah,
Yeah.
like Ragnarok. Yeah, dude, insane.
I'm gonna say the same as you. They Infinity War and Endgame could go one or two. But just we'll add some variety in here. I will say that Spider-Man: Homecoming still one of my favorite Spider-Man movies of all time.
Spider-Man: Homecoming is slept on, dude. Like I don't understand why it doesn't get talked about more because and Vulture was a great villain.
Yes, Adrian Toomes, Vulture.
Keaton killed it, dude.
Sony messed it up with him. Why did they bring him into freaking Morbius, man?
We're
Like,
just gonna
what?
retcon that whole movie, dude. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
It didn't exist.
It didn't. It doesn't. Nope.
Phase 4 pretty easy too,
Yeah.
and we've already. I mean, we gave Phase 4 rankings. We talked about it, so I'm not going to spend time on this really. But like Wakanda Forever, number one. No Way Home, number two. Shang-Chi is honorable mention at third. Shang-Chi is yeah, we talked about this. In my opinion, the
Yeah.
better movie, like
Yeah.
overall. But No Way Home is just a better experience. Little more memorable just because of what it was. A little more of a fun movie. So, but you can't go wrong with either of those three.
Yep. I'm going Wakanda Forever and then No Way Home as
Yep.
well. Shang-Chi
Solid.
is my honorable mention on there. But if we're throwing shows in there,
Yeah. So
Moon
shows top
Knight's
two,
number
which
one.
yeah, again we know each other's top two too, Loki and Moon Knight, and we each
Yep.
flip them. Like I think I have Loki number one, you have Moon Knight number one, and yeah, number two is Moon Knight for me. Number two is Loki. So yeah, excited to see. I have a feeling Secret Invasion could really
Oh, pop up there
that could
quick.
sneak up
Yeah.
there, dude. Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah.
good. Supposedly, during the Super Bowl, we're apparently getting multiple trailers: a Secret Invasion trailer,
Ooh.
a Marvels trailer. There was one more that I was really excited about, and now I don't remember what it was.
Daredevil.
No.
Dang.
Loki season 2.
Oh, Loki.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because that one's coming up soon.
Yeah, Loki season 2, dude. So
Yep. Good.
that's the rumor is during the Super Bowl we're getting all three of those. So I'll be so hype. All right, let's hop into these villain rankings. So we got 15 villains. 15 villains for Phase 4. There technically are probably a couple more, but what we try to do is just focus on the main villain or villains from each project, and
Yeah.
so and then there's a couple that, or maybe just like one that we grouped together. So we grouped together the Celestials slash Erisham with Icarus, because like they both essentially, like Icarus was, working for the Celestials. You find out that yeah, he's about their mission the entire time. I mean, essentially he's almost one of them, right? Like in
Yeah.
a way, he's just kind of their mouthpiece on Earth and on other planets. We did not include the Deviants just because, I mean,
Yeah.
like
They were like a side.
they were just a puppet, and they didn't end up being like the main villain, so it just didn't feel right to include them in it. Other than that, for She-Hulk, we made Intelligentsia the villain. It just seemed like they were the overarching villain.
You can't make it Todd.
No, can't make it Todd. Can't make it Titania. Like she's in like 1.5 episodes and wasn't even really a villain. So yeah, I think those were the only disclaimers. Two villains for Black Widow, both separate. General Dreykov, who is the guy who led the Black Widows and created the Black Widows. And then you also have Taskmaster. So we don't have those grouped together. They're being ranked separately because they were just like different separate beings. So yeah, that's the list. And we're gonna go. Yeah, we'll make this fairly quick. We don't want this episode lasting forever. But yeah, we are going to rank from 15, starting dead last, all the way up to number 1. Starting here with number 15 for me. My number 15 is Taskmaster, dude. Here's the thing. One of the coolest villains in the comics, right? Like Taskmaster is insane in the comics. And I've read quite a few comics that involve Taskmaster in it, and so cool. Absolutely butchered it in Black Widow. Just an abomination and shameful of how horribly they did that villain. And so even though this is kind of like a Thor Love and Thunder thing for me. Like there may actually be villains that were worse on this list, but
Yeah.
to me, and this isn't necessarily a petty thing though, because I really do think it's a 15. Because for as much like as good as Taskmaster should have been, for Taskmaster to be what it was an abomination. No pun intended. Like it was a complete abomination from the source material and how awesome Taskmaster should have been. So I'm hoping they redeem themselves with Taskmaster and the Thunderbolts, because my gosh, like so disappointing. Everyone was so hyped when they saw Taskmaster was in it, and they dropped the ball. So that's my number 15.
Yeah, my number 15 is Intelligentsia.
Valid.
I was like
Nothing special about it.
I kind of get what Marvel's going for, some power of some sort of social media and things like that, and how the media can have that sort of power on people. But it's like I'm not looking. I wanted She-Hulk to, fight somebody.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't
And
really get a
again,
whole lot
like,
of that.
yeah, no,
I get it though, but
I totally understand what you're saying there without a
yeah.
doubt. What about your number 14?
My number 14, this one might be a tad controversial.
Oh boy.
Um, I've got Agatha Harkness.
Really? Yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely not. I mean, I'm not like team Agatha in the sense that I'm gonna
right.
fight you about it because like she's not super high on my list either. But yeah, definitely wasn't what I expected to be at 14.
Just because just didn't hit right for
Just didn't
me.
do anything for you.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just didn't do anything. I really felt like you could have taken her out and it would have been an all right, like pretty good series still.
I mean, she wasn't a villain for a lot of it.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
like
a problem with that formula, is like hiding your
yeah,
villains. Like more times than not, it's just going to be underwhelming
right. Like
and then rushed.
yeah, the ones that are good, like from previous phases, we'll use, Thanos.
Yeah.
We knew he was looming for a
Right.
while.
I mean, he was a big
So,
bad, so it's a little different, but yeah, like still, I mean,
right.
yeah. In the movies, you didn't typically get the villains like, yeah, being revealed super, super late like that. And if they did, there was at
Right.
least really good build up and development. Yeah, I can see what you're saying. My number 14 is Kingpin, actually.
Oh.
So Kingpin from Hawkeye. And so this might be controversial to some people because you hear Kingpin and you're like, dude, there's no way Kingpin is one of the worst villains in the MCU. But he is, because again, this is very similar to the Taskmaster thing. This rating is not based on who Kingpin was in Daredevil. That Kingpin is one of the greatest comic book villains ever put to screen.
Ever. Yeah.
Like, period. But this was not that same character. And they may have meant it to be the same character, and we'll find that out when Daredevil Born Again comes around. But as far as just how he was portrayed, not the same dude. And I get that the vibe of Hawkeye is not the vibe of Daredevil, right? It's not a dark show.
Right.
But you still, like, like Kingpin got his butt whooped by Kate Bishop. Like, that can't happen.
Right. I mean, it shouldn't happen. I mean, like, I get they needed to establish her and things like that. I agree with you,
Right,
but it's just like, nah, that one should have left her.
Yeah. And only having him for one episode was a crime. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And not having Spider-Man in that episode, I will shoot shots.
Yeah, that's your love and thunder right there.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I am fully confident that they'll redeem themselves in Phase 5 with Kingpin.
Yeah.
Like I know some people worried about how they're going to portray him. I'm not. He may not be decapitating people with car doors. You know, it remains to be seen if Disney's going to get that gritty. But I have no doubt they're not going to screw him up again. That backlash was far too great, and they're going to make sure they get Daredevil right. They're going to make sure they get Kingpin right.
Yep.
Let's see. You did 14 to start. I'll start with 13. My 13, Intelligentsia. So,
yep,
really close to where you were at. I had a lot of same thoughts you did, and again, yeah, I see what Marvel's trying to do. And again, the whole point of She-Hulk was that there wasn't really meant to be a big villain. It was a completely different style of show. And so they weren't trying to have a great big villain. And they wanted us to almost think that there was supposed to be. And then they had to misdirect and pulled the rug out from under us for the finale, which was fine. But, I mean, we got to rank it. And it wasn't a good villain. And so...
definitely wasn't.
It's also a shame that Intelligentsia was wasted on the show in the sense of what it was in the comics. I'm hoping that it does become more. I'm hoping that maybe like it's like the Mandarin thing from Iron Man 3, right? Like this is the fake Intelligentsia, and we find out soon that there's a real Intelligentsia that's actually a coterie of supervillains, the smartest supervillains in the universe, which in the comics includes MODOK, who we're getting in a couple weeks, and the leader,
Dr. Doom,
and Dr. Doom is a part of that. So like all,
and
like
we
all
know
these
we're getting
guys,
the leader.
Yep. So the pieces are there. We'll see.
Exactly.
But for now, it's number 13.
Yep. My number 13. I'm gonna make a quick adjustment. Just a quick one.
Improvising a little bit here.
So I totally blanked. I don't know why I have this here. I have General Dracoff at number 13. I want him at the bottom. I didn't think he was that good. Just move everything up one for me.
You're making an entire adjustment. So you're going. Agatha is now your number 13 spot.
Yeah.
Dracoff is going to be your dead last.
Yep, Dracoff is gonna be my dead last.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dracoff, then Intelligentsia, and then Agatha.
Okay.
Yep. I don't know why I had that there. I was really thinking about it, and I was like, nah, I don't. He didn't do nothing
No,
for me.
I
I
mean,
mean,
all the villains in Black Widow were just underwhelming.
there was two saving graces of or three of that movie. Still seeing Scarlett Johansson do her stuff, Florence Pugh, and uh the
David Harbour,
David Harbour.
Red Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, excited to see more of him.
for sure. What about your number 12? So Agatha is your 13. Your number 12.
Yeah, my number 12 is the Clandestines.
Okay.
I love the show, Miss Marvel. I love that character.
Same.
The villain just didn't do it for me. Like,
No.
same reasoning. I get it, but it's like,
And in that show, there was meant to be a villain, and it just again, yeah,
it fell through, I think.
it really
But
did.
I'm glad we've got her established in some way or form, and I get it. I guess they're more like throwaway villains, and
They really were.
That's what they just seemed like.
Which is unfortunate because, like, why have a
They could be
throwaway
really
villain?
cool.
Like, yeah, there could have been a lot more to him. There's more to him in the comics. That's my number 12 as well. For first time we match.
There we go.
That's my number 12 for a lot of same reasons. Like, super forgettable. Like, honestly, I'll be completely honest, and I remember this stuff really well, but I forgot what the heck they were even called, dude.
Right.
I forgot what they were even called, and I had to look it up. Again, everything you said. Fine villain, suffered greatly from the 6-episode format. There could have been
Yep.
They could have gone into so much more depth with them, and I feel like the storyline for them was good.
Yeah, it was there.
It was just rushed, like
It just
super
sputtered
rushed.
out, yeah.
And then sputtered out, and then the villain became the Department of whatever. I can't remember what their
Damage control.
damage control. Yeah, that became
Yep.
the villain, and so yeah, just a hot mess there. But
Low key,
again,
they might be Intelligentsia. That's my theory.
dude, maybe. But yeah. So that's my number 12. My number 11 is the Flag Smashers from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And again, like so many of the other villains on the bottom tier of this list, just so stinking forgettable, dude. Just so poorly developed. Again, like motivation was fine. They presented a pretty solid moral dilemma with their reasoning for existing. It was just so horribly executed. And then you threw in the whole power broker thing, which sucked. It just, dude. Honestly, I like what they did with Zemo. I loved his role in that show. I thought it was good. So I'm not upset that they did Zemo the way that they did him. But I would have rather Zemo been the villain again.
Yeah.
Than the Flag Smash. Right. Like give me him as like comic Baron Zemo. And that would have been really cool. And instead we got the stupid Flag Smashers. And again,
I would have been
potential was
all
there,
right.
super forgettable.
Right. I would have been I'm same here with you. I would have been all right if Zemo was the villain, or even if we had like some like twist and US Agent became that villain. And I feel like that would have been really cool too.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of did, but didn't.
He was for a little bit, and then kind of washed away. But at the end of the day, he wasn't the villain. It was it was a lot like the Eternals. Like you had a lot of different people who could be considered villains, but at the end of the day, they were all just doing what they thought was right. But ultimately, Flag Smashers are the villains. So yeah, your number 11.
My number 11 is the Celestials / Icarus.
Yep.
I'm just still mad that we've had 4 or 5 projects since where we have not talked about the big Eternal in the ocean, the big Celestial in the ocean.
Hey, but they mentioned it in She-Hulk.
But we had Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, where Namor that's where they live. Nothing?
Well, we don't know what part of the ocean though, like
right.
like the Celestial was. I mean, I think we do, but like I don't remember. I do know that there's a rumor that part of the storyline in the Thunderbolts is going to involve
Yeah,
that fallen
I have heard
celestial.
that,
We'll
which I'm
see.
happy about, but that's so far from now for me. From since they
Yeah,
came out with that
right.
movie, I'm
Right.
like,
We're
yo,
going to wait that long to acknowledge it.
yeah, it's like I do truly feel like Black Panther Wakanda Forever should have acknowledged that.
Yeah.
Like that would have been like a great way for them to be like, oh, Talokan's got not vibranium, but we've got adamantium, and it came from that, or something like that, which would
Well,
have been really cool.
so supposedly that's supposed to be part of the
See, so
whole
I'm telling you,
part of the whole
Kevin Feige,
story in
I'm in your head, bro.
I got your number. Yeah, it's supposed to be some of the story in Captain America 4 is that yeah, that's where adamantium is going to come from is the celestial, so that would be kind
Yeah.
of dope if that's actually the case. Good setup
Then
for
I'm
a
gonna
future
want to know
X-Men.
what's stronger,
I know.
vibranium or adamantium.
Yeah. My number 10 is Dracoff, General Dracoff. So,
Okay.
uh, again, he gets it by
Here,
default
yeah,
because everything else sucked below it. So it's not even like he's top 10 because he was good. He's top 10 just because someone has to be there.
yeah,
And the only reason I put him top 10 is because I will say that you hated him when he was on screen. Like he did a very good job. The actor did a very good job. The writers did a good job of making you absolutely loathe that dude. Like he was a creep. Like he was a low,
yeah.
dirty piece of garbage. And so he was a good villain in that sense that when he was on the screen, you hated him
You
and
hated
you
them.
wanted to
Yeah,
see him get his. And you also heard about him and his evil throughout the entire MCU. Ever since we met Black Widow, you heard about how, just the mistreatment of the widows and what she went through. And so, like, indirectly, you knew about him. And then you get to meet him. It's like, oh, it's this dude. You already felt like you knew him. That's the only reason he's 10. But again, it just, yeah, kind of like forgettable movie, forgettable villain.
yeah, yeah. My number 10, the other villain of that movie, Taskmaster. I do like I put him a little higher than you because I like the character, and
Yeah,
I everything that you said I agree with. I just like the character, so I put him a little higher.
yeah,
Um, I hope we get a Spider-Man PS4 video game type
dude.
Taskmaster in the MCU because that'd be cool. Because
That's what I'm
that's
saying.
one of
Like,
one of the
Taskmaster is such a sweet villain.
yeah, like we've seen him go toe to toe with literally everybody.
Yeah.
So
Fun
I would
fact.
love to see that in the MCU.
I feel like we've actually talked about this on the show before, but fun fact for anybody listening who doesn't know, the one superhero that Taskmaster refuses to fight in the comics is Moon Knight. Because Moon Knight's style of fighting in the comics is that Moon Knight will just take punches. He does not care. And so he'll just sit there and eat punches from people and then dish it back out. And Taskmaster refuses to fight Moon Knight because he's like, this is the stupidest fighting style I've ever seen. Like, I can't copy this. I'll lose. And
Yeah,
and so like Moon Knight's the one person he won't fight. Fun little fact there.
it's like Goku, man.
Yeah, for real. You're number 9.
My number 9 is Kingpin. I really like just because of the Netflix show, I could not put him any lower, like a lot lower.
Oh, see, I
Like
could because it was an abomination compared to what the Netflix show was.
I'm like, I gotta have faith. I'm looking at it very optimistically. I'm like, I agree. Like that's why he's down below here. I mean, we know who's above now, but it's like I agree with you. I think they're gonna do better with him. I
Yeah,
think where they
they're not going
left
to drop
off
that
with
ball
him
twice.
too.
My number 9. It was Agatha all along. Just because she's top 10 because she has the best song out of all of them. She has the only song. I don't think any other villain has a song out of the villains on this list. But yeah, she was again. She's a fun villain. I'm looking forward to seeing what she's like in Coven of Chaos. I'm not super looking
Yeah,
forward to that show. It's one that I'm just like, I'll watch it. Like, am I thrilled about it? No, but I feel like it's one of those shows like nobody asked for and we're getting it anyway.
yeah,
But
and I'm not sure even what it could bring. like what
Right.
it's gonna bring at like to the table here.
Yeah.
So
Now she's a fantastic actress. I love her in
yeah,
everything she's in. So she killed it as Agatha too. She was great in that, and she was a really fun villain, and she played a really good like witch. Like when she flipped that switch, she was good. So I'm excited to see more of her. But we didn't get much of her
yeah,
as a villain, and yeah, again, like kind of like you, I can't really explain it. Like I don't feel like there was anything bad about her. Just didn't
right.
do it. Just didn't do it for me.
Just didn't like land
Right.
completely home
Yeah.
there.
Just
Yeah,
didn't grab me for whatever reason. Maybe part of that's just because the WandaVision finale was a little flat and just like a CGI fest. But
yep.
we'll see.
All right, who's your number 8?
My number 8 is Icarus and the Celestials, Arishem.
Yeah,
So again, that's
you
I
don't
mean,
got a vendetta like I do.
no, I don't. But and I do enjoy the Eternals more than most people. I do think that the reason I have this number 8 is I think that there's an interesting dilemma presented with these quote unquote villains because like the Celestials are so far above humans, like they're literal gods, and so they created basically everything in the MCU, and it's just kind of tough. Like it's tougher to question them. Like they're doing what they need to do in order for the rest of the universe to thrive, and in their minds, like that means that they have to sacrifice whole civilizations, and to them, it's just stepping on an anthill, right?
Right.
But for them, that sacrifice is worth it because that means the rest of the universe will continue to grow and thrive, and they have to make sacrifices along the way. And Icarus gets caught in the middle of that, and kind of sees their vision. But I mean, obviously, we know we're attached to Earth because we live here, and
Yeah,
so
right.
yeah, like, don't come for us, man. And so yeah, just they weren't great. I would have loved to have seen Icarus more
Yeah.
as a villain, and maybe we will. Maybe he didn't actually die. We were led to believe that he did. Maybe he didn't, because as powerful as he is, I mean, he's a Superman type character. I would love to see him still as a villain, but I don't think he will be. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that ship has sailed because it seemed like at the end of the movie that he was, kind of remorseful for what he had done and just realized like he had to go end it because he was, he screwed up so badly. But man, it would have been cool to see him just full on villain for like a whole other movie, and that's where the
Oh, yeah,
Eternals
for
should have
sure.
it should have split, right? Like like
Yeah.
the first Eternals movie should have been maybe the conflict with the Celestials, and you find that out, and then all of a sudden Icarus turns, and then the second movie is like they're just going head up with Icarus the entire time,
Yeah. That would have
and
been a lot better
yeah,
for
I
sure.
think so too. But yeah, so they're my number 8.
My number 8 was the Flag Smashers. I really did enjoy that show a lot.
I knew this
So
was because of your bias toward the show.
yeah. Um, I totally agree with you though. Everything. Uh, I just have a bias towards that show, so I had to put them there. I did like I like super soldiers, man. That like a storyline
Yeah.
with a super soldier. I'm gonna like it. So it's it's a lot easier to put him at number 8 and not feel it. I mean I still feel like can't believe I put him there, but
Yeah.
oh well.
Yeah, they just were super memorable. All right.
Yeah.
Number 7. See, this is where I feel like the list gets good now.
Yeah.
At least to me. This is where I feel like we get into we border on like really good elite villain, and then I think once we get into the top 5, like every top 5 villain is elite.
Yeah. And I
You're
feel like me and yours we're gonna
be pretty
go
similar.
yeah. Because I'm pretty
You're
sure we have all the same ones left.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we do. You're number 7.
My number 7 is gonna be Gore.
Okay. That's
My,
valid.
my reasoning is because he could have been number 1,
Yep, could have been number 1. Maybe should have been
but
number 1.
sure, yeah, he's the honorable mention top 3.
Yeah.
But just because I'm blaming this one on Taika Waititi
Yep, 100%.
because the cast was there.
Don't let that man near another Thor movie for the rest of his life.
Yep, and
MCU movie, get him out. Sorry,
like you were a one-hit wonder with Ragnarok.
you were. And I like some of his other stuff. He's actually a really good director.
Yeah,
I just
he's
feel
a
like
great director.
he got in his own head, I think.
Yep. I think he was trying to have a little too much fun with
Yep.
it, and we weren't looking for that.
No.
Nothing against the dude.
Not the movie to
Just
do it in.
yep.
Yeah.
You could have grabbed a Deadpool movie. That might have
Yeah.
done. You might do
Would have
alright
been
with
much more of a
Deadpool
vibe
movie.
for him.
Yeah, but not Thor.
Agreed.
Yeah. So
That's actually a great take on it. Yeah, Deadpool movie would have been perfect for him.
yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's good. My number 7 is Arthur Harrow from Moon Knight.
Okay.
Arthur Harrow. So I think I like Harrow more than most people. I mean, you obviously have him ranked higher, but I don't see a lot of people giving his character love too much online. But I really liked him. I thought Ethan Hawke did his thing.
Yep.
Here's the thing about it, and this is what Marvel does really well, and people don't give enough credit to Marvel Studios for this. Marvel Studios is really good at taking really obscure, irrelevant villains from the comics and making them super relevant on screen.
Right. Yeah.
Most people don't realize that Arthur Harrow has like a one comic run, like just a one issue run in Moon Knight. That's it. Like the dude is not around hardly at all. He's not a major villain in Moon Knight. Not like people think of him in the show. And they were able to take this guy and they definitely deviated from his story some, but they made him a big time villain. And I thought he was really good. Ethan Hawke, insane actor. This was definitely a phase of like and again, especially the villains, like they brought some heavy hitting actors in to be just characters in the MCU in this phase, and Ethan Hawke is one of them. He gave me Kingpin vibes at times, honestly, just in a way that he was very calm yet terrifying with his demeanor.
Yeah.
You rarely ever saw him super angry, but you always knew he was about that business, and he was terrifying and just unsettling in the way that he acted. Yeah. Again, arc wasn't the best. I kind of thought the way his story finished, it just kind of, he was this very like, I don't know the word that I'm looking for, but he was this very compelling, intelligent villain throughout most of it, and very philosophical throughout the most of the show, and mysterious, much like the rest of the show was. And then it got to episode 6, and all of a sudden he just like went full on bad guy, and it was like,
Yep.
okay, but that's not really who you were for 5 out of the 6 episodes of the show. And all of a sudden, like now, is just like, oh, it must be big fight. Like just loses his mind in episode 6. So that was, and I think that's probably where most people the disconnect is. But even still,
Yeah.
I
You ever
love
notice how much of how Ethan Hawke and Kevin Bacon look so much alike?
So much, bro. They got to be related somehow. There needs to be a DNA test.
For real.
My number 6 is Gore.
Valid.
Really close to yours. And all the same reasons. We already slandered Thor Love and Thunder enough, so why not continue to do it? The movie was an atrocity. And the way that they used and wasted Gore was an atrocity. It was unforgivable, bro.
Gore is one of those dudes in the comics that you're like,
Gore
he's business.
Gore is him in the comics, dude. But that said, Christian Bale is still that dude. Yeah. And even with an awful script and a terrible direction, he still did his thing and absolutely crushed what he was given. Now, what he was given was not much. But what he was given, he was still terrifying, and and then it just pisses me off even more because I see what he did with what he was given, and I'm like, man, but imagine if he'd have been given something good.
Right.
So Gore's number 6, like we said, maybe should have been number 1, but that's, in some multiverse somewhere, someone got a good Thor Love and Thunder movie.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
My number 6 is Arthur Harrow.
Right on.
I have him too much higher just because.
Okay, so we got the same top 5. All right.
I agree with you. Like near the end, I do. Moon Knight is my favorite show that we've had so far. With bias towards the character, but also I just think it's a phenomenal show.
It is.
I agree. Like clear up to the episode 6, like the craftiness of Arthur Harrow. That is what I was like, ooh, this is really good. This guy's really good. and then it kind of like blew up. Like
Yeah.
I was like, "Ugh,
Yeah.
that's not what I was looking for. I really wanted, I kind of wanted it to end. I mean, it did end where we feel like we're gonna get a season 2 for sure.
It still had a good ending. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would have much rather seen like a not, you know, Jake shoot him, like
Yeah, although I will say it was creative, like yeah, the
yeah,
way
yeah,
that
no,
ended, I know
definitely
it was like
was. Yeah,
anticlimactic, but it was also super creative because like at that point we hadn't had a flashback or not a flashback, a blackout like that for a few episodes, and so you kind of forgot that that was a possibility, and then it
yeah,
happened. You're just like, oh yeah, that's still a thing.
thing. Yep. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's why
Um,
he's at my number 6.
all right, top five, baby. Who you got?
All right.
We're
My
gonna see where we match up here.
my number 5 was Wanda.
Okay.
Um, great villain.
Yep.
Phenomenal. I just saw this the other day, and it was the first time it really clicked. But Wanda and WandaVision met Monica Rambeau's daughter, and she was like, I would do anything to have my mom back. And
Yeah.
then next thing in Multiverse of Madness, she's like, screw your mom,
Yeah,
dog.
yeah,
Like
dude.
dead. I was like, oh shoot. Like
Although to
that's
be
tough.
fair, to to be fair, I wonder like I wonder if she even knew like who
Right.
that put the two together. But yeah, still super funny.
But
I saw that
still
clip too.
now we've got some like if like she ever mentioned like, oh, I killed a Miss Captain Marvel in a different universe, it was something Rambo, and
Yep.
she'd be like, oh
Yo,
shoot.
that's gonna start some stuff, dude.
Yeah, that's gonna start something.
Bro, I made a change here. I actually had a different number five, but as I'm thinking about it throughout our entire rankings, and as you started talking, I'm making a switch, and my number five is also Wanda.
Okay.
I won't say who
All
I
right.
had in the spot, but you'll find out in a second when I get my number four. But yeah, my number five is also Wanda. So far our top five lines up.
There we go.
Uh,
There we go.
Regardless of your thoughts about whether or not Wanda should have been a villain or not, because there are a lot of people that debate, whether that was the right arc or whatever. There's no denying that she was one of the best villains the MCU's ever had. Like she was just an absolute force
Just
and
a
terrifying,
menace.
just a menace, dude. And there's always like the debate about who's the strongest Avenger, and I feel like after watching Multiverse of Madness, like there's no contest. It's Wanda. She just freaking like absolutely annihilate, slaughtered all of Camertage, all these sorcerers, and like people, like there are people who would. Now, granted, they're not Doctor Strange, but like these are all sorcerers with Doctor Strange powers, and she just made them all look stupid. She's a freaking beast, man,
Made him look
and
real silly there.
yep, she was so stinking good. I don't really have anything against her.
Mm-mm.
There's no reason I don't have her higher. Just that I like
Yep.
the other villains ranked above her more. But
Yep.
yeah, I love seeing her as a villain. I thought she was good. My number four is He Who Remains,
Oh, no way.
aka Kang.
I never would have thought you had him there.
Yep, aka Kang.
I I,
So
I think I understand why.
yeah. There's reasons why. So, uh, pound for pound, he's one of my favorites. We only had one episode of him, so
Mm-hmm.
that's part of it. We just had one episode of him, so I feel like I have to factor that into it. But that being said, it was one glorious episode.
Mm-hmm.
The fact you can have an episode with no action whatsoever, just dialogue with your villain, and yet it was maybe some of the greatest dialogue in the whole MCU. I don't know how many times I've gone back and watched all of his scenes
Just
from Loki
yeah.
just to see his dialogue, just because the way that he presents it and delivers it is so good and so compelling and terrifying and unsettling. I love him. And like this has a factor into it, but I mean, you can make a legit argument that he's not a villain in that, like that there
Right.
wasn't a villain in Loki. That maybe Renslayer was the actual villain, because when he explains himself, it's like, okay, like dude actually makes a lot of sense, and I think we're gonna see in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania that he really was not a villain, because what he was doing to prevent what we're gonna see from coming was valid and necessary. I completely echo Kevin Feige's statement where Feige said there's no one whose shoulders he'd rather put the MCU on than Jonathan Majors, and that's
Yeah.
100% true. Like, this dude is going to carry the MCU in every single way, and I'm here for it. So, yeah, as far as my enjoyment of him, it honestly is probably higher, but just overall villain
Right.
rankings, I have reasons you'll see, but yeah, he's number 4.
Yeah. My number 4 is Wenwu.
Okay.
Um, I thoroughly enjoyed Wenwu as a villain. Thought he was sick. I mean, he was doing it was like a very like classic villain. He truly believed he was doing something right, very
Yeah.
Thanos like. He was like, I'm doing something right here, like I'm going to save. And then
Yep.
at the end, steps up and helps out,
Yeah.
where he could. And just super solid villain in general. And that actor, does he age?
Right, dude. Like, Tony Leung, like, what a stud, man. I mean, he is an absolute legend in martial arts movie circles. Like, that
Yeah.
dude is just, yeah,
Like I didn't
literal living
realize how
legend.
much of a legend he was
Oh yeah,
until I
it was
did some research on him.
a big
Like,
deal for him to come into the MCU.
yeah, Jackie Chan, like legend. Like people don't
Yeah. Oh
understand.
yeah.
Like
Yep.
same tier.
Yep. 100%.
Right.
Yeah, he's great. All right, top 3, baby.
All right.
Who you
My
got?
number 3 was He Who Remains.
Okay, so we weren't that far off. We just flipped him.
Yeah. And I just because I thoroughly enjoyed him there, I the more I'm thinking about it, the more I think that we might have seen him already a few times in previous phases and movies, and I feel like we're gonna start to see that come through because that's what Kang is.
Yeah.
We don't always recognize him right away. I think it'll like come to light in like some areas for us. So I think just like having that like that grip that he's got on the entirety of the MCU.
Yeah.
That's why I've got him
Yeah.
there.
He's so stinking good. My number 3 is Wenwu.
Mm-hmm.
So just flipping that, and yeah, like we already said, Tony Leung is an absolute legend. I think he might be the best written villain in the MC. Like he was so stinking good, and it was great to finally get like the real Mandarin that we were robbed of. And again, there's controversial stances with the Mandarin because in the comics, Mandarin, like, you could not display comic Mandarin now because it was just like a, kind of racist for being,
Yeah.
if we're being honest. But they did. They took the villain and did him in a fantastic way, and I love that we got to see the effect that he's had on history with the 10 Rings and the organization, and that his fingerprints extend all the way back to the first Iron Man film, and him
And
leading that
even
organization
further,
in
yeah.
secret, yeah, and even further before we even knew, and then just to see like, yeah, how much of a force he was, and he had that, the two sides of the coin to him too, like loving father, loving husband, really nice guy at times, and then also just like absolute dog,
Menace.
absolute
Yeah.
menace, dude. Yeah, just like the one guy you do not want to screw with. No remorse whatsoever. No compassion when it comes to certain things. I was just watching the fight scene between him and Shang-Chi the other day, right before he blasts Shang-Chi into the water, and yeah, like you think they're finally gonna like make up, and then Shang-Chi says something about his wife, and he just like, loses it on him.
Yeah.
And he, yeah, just such an incredible villain. I loved him. I loved that whole movie. I saw it 3 times in theaters. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, Shang-Chi was one of the ones I saw 3 times as well.
Yeah, so good. Number 2 for me is Green Goblin. Green Goblin is number 2.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's your number 1 by your reaction.
Yeah.
This is where I thought that we were gonna
Flip.
Yeah, we were gonna differ. So this is tough because Willem Dafoe is all-time great in terms of comic book villains. I mean, his portrayal of Green Goblin is insane. So stinking good. And I love it. One thing that really does it for me for an antagonist, for a villain, is that when an antagonist really propels and is one of, if not the sole proponent of the protagonist's character development. Like if the antagonist
Mhm.
is the one that drives the main character and develops them, like they're the reason they develop. I think that's so well written, and
Yeah.
that's the way it was for Green Goblin. Like he is like he's the thing that pushed Spider-Man over the edge. He's what tested Spider-Man's limits, and we got to see Tom Holland as Spider-Man in that mode where he was like, okay, I'm not holding back. And one of the criticisms I've heard about Spider-Man No Way Home, the final fight between Spider-Man and Goblin, is that it's too fast. I've heard people say like, dude, like we thought we were going to get this massive fight scene between Spider-Man and Green Goblin, and it's over in like a minute. But I don't see it that way at all, because I see it as like he created a bloodlustful Spider-Man, and
Mhm.
a Spider-Man that was not holding back whatsoever.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when Spider-Man doesn't hold back. Like
Yeah.
Spider-Man didn't hold back, and he nearly killed Goblin in a matter of seconds. Like it did not take him long at all. And
Yeah.
I
So
think
it's
that was
like
so cool that he pushed him to that point.
right. It's like Kingpin did to him in the comics.
Yeah. I also love that part of it. I also love that he he kind of completed Spider-Man's origin story in a way, and really made like Spider-Man is so much about sacrifice, right? So much of being Spider-Man is having to sacrifice, and you can't choose between being Peter and Spider-Man. You have to be all in for Spider-Man, and Goblin is the one that got him to realize that. Like you've been trying to choose, you can't choose. You got to be one of
Yep.
them. And yeah, so I loved him, and honestly, he could be number one for me, but he's my number two.
Yeah, I think these last two for me and you come down to bias of the movies that they're in as well.
Yeah,
Because I like Black Panther, or I like Spider-Man a little bit more than I like Black Panther. Um, so that my number two is Namor.
yep,
Um, quickly became one of my favorite villains.
yep,
Quickly, like one of those dudes where I'm like, I know in the comics he's like kind of good, kind of bad. He's just there to protect Talokan.
yep,
That's what his main goal is. It's just to make sure that they're good.
yep,
And that's what can make him such a good villain and such a good hero at the same time. And so that's why he's my number two. Um, but for all the reasons you said, that's why I have Green Goblin at number
yeah,
one.
valid,
Like Willem Dafoe, and just how he came back at his age and was able to do all
dude.
that and
Like
still be,
does not come off as like as old as he is.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's just a flat out stud. Yeah, my number one is Namor, and again, I've said it so many times. I love a sympathetic villain, and I think he's
Yep.
the most sympathetic villain in the MCU, and that's probably what puts him over the top. Just the fact that, yeah, like you said, he's at the end of the day, he doesn't have really villainous motives. He just wants to protect his people and protect his kingdom, and he has very valid reasons for hating
Yep.
the surface world, because he saw his very own people that looked just like him beaten and enslaved and killed right in front of him by people in the surface world. And so
Yep.
and then they're coming for his vibranium and his resources. And he's like, you know what? I want nothing to do with these people. As a matter of fact, if I ever get a chance to like stick it to them, I'm gonna do that too. And I can't even say I
Yep.
blame him. I hate the surface world too. I live here. He was an absolute force with a fantastic backstory. Again, same thing for Black Panther as Green Goblin with Spider-Man. He was a huge proponent of Shuri's arc and her character development in that movie.
Right.
Like he killed Queen Ramonda and like forced her to really step up, and then she had to have that internal wrestling of just like T'Challa with Zemo in Civil War. Like, do I kill him or do I be noble and I show him grace? And she had to do that struggle, and Killmonger was there and helped her, tried to give her that push the one way. But he was just, I love how compelling he was. I love the fact that it's not black and white. There's so much gray. Like the whole thing's gray with him pretty much.
Yep.
Talokan, like his people in general, so fascinating, so good.
Can't wait to see more of it.
Really can't. And so that's probably what differentiates it for me between him and Goblin is Goblin. One, Namor got way more screen time, and so I loved that.
Yeah.
Really would have loved to seen Goblin a little more, but you got what, 5 villains in that film, so I mean you could
Mm-hmm.
you got to split it.
Right.
But and then yeah, Namor is just a more sympathetic villain. But I will say, I'm not typically someone who always loves like villains who are just bad for being bad. Now, Goblin does have some motives, like he really does want to push Spider-Man, and feels like Spider-Man needs to see see and realize certain things, and so he wants to be the one to push Spider-Man into that, but in a more of an evil way, not like, hey, let me help you out, but like, hey, let me help you out here, pal.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a villain who's just like evil for the sake of being evil, so stinking good. And yeah,
Yeah.
that is the episode, y'all. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed our ranking of the villains in Phase 4. It was a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see Phase 5. I have a feeling that the first villain we're going to see in Phase 5 is going to quickly be number 1, and it's going to be hard to really knock him from that. Like, I fully expect me to walk out of that theater thinking like, yep, Kang's the best villain the MCU has ever had. I'd be surprised if I didn't think that, or at least top 2 or 3, because yeah, he's gonna kill it, and they're promoting the heck out of that, so you know it's gonna be it's gonna be something great. So in a couple weeks, we're gonna get to talk about Ant-Man. We'll do a preview episode too, but yeah, a lot of good things coming down the pike. So we'll see what next week's episode is. We got to talk about that, but thank you guys so much for joining us today. Once again, please shoot us an email, midwestmarvelguy@gmail.com. Shoot us an email. Let us know your favorite villains. Let us know your top 5 in Phase 4. Would love to hear it. Love to dialogue on that. Let us know some other topics you want to see us talk about on the podcast. We'll get to those too. Yeah, just really excited. Thank you guys so much for your support, for listening. Make sure you subscribe, leave a great review, and we will see y'all next time. Peace out, nerds.